Welcome to the fourth episode of Schwarzesmarken. As you can see, I've got myself a Schwarzesmarken t-shirt. And let's get started right away. First thing I'd like to address is an interesting point. Someone said it's kind of weird that we have never seen Katya saluting and that we never seen a handshake. But in this show, as in most Western countries, it's normal to shake hands when meeting someone. And also in East Germany, but you have to consider this is a military setting and there weren't really any situation where it would have been normal that there would have been a handshake. Maybe if we meet a civilian, that could be it. But yes, it's kind of weird that we haven't seen Katya saluting, because even in West Germany military, that would be a normal gesture. So that is one point of interest, that bowing is special to Japan, but I think Western countries do it in a form of nodding. Like, Japanese people go like 15 degrees down, that 15 degrees, 45 degrees, and 90 degrees. For the same reasons we do it. Like, depending on how close we are to a person, the distance for a handshake we do is, or for a greeting in general, is about different, depending if it's your boss. And if it's a close friend, you're of course standing closer to him when you give him the hand, because most of the time you also clap him on the shoulder or anything. So actually the bowing in Japan and the greetings in Western countries serves the same purpose, even in the body language. Westerners do it with a more subconscious mind, but directly bowing, of course, is also not a thing in East Germany, but I haven't seen it. If you see a scene where they're really bowing in Schwarzesmarken, write me the time and I look at it. Perhaps I've overseen it, but to my knowledge I have never seen it. So the only thing that with the greeting is really wrong is that we never see Katya saluting. Even Lisa in episode 4 came and introduced herself with saluting, which I think is in almost every country, even Japan, normal to do.
So, in the beginning we have a flashback where we see Theodor inside of a Kinderheim. That is a children's home. It's sort of an orphanage, but not really. It's not just for orphans, because back then the East German state would take children away from their parents if they deemed those parents unfit to raise a child. This could be due to the parents being drunkards, or maybe the child has displayed some behavioral problems in school, so the parents were clearly not able to properly raise them. Another possibility was also that the parents were enemies of the state, and then they would use these Kinderheim to re-educate them politically. That was always a small side goal for everything that you would go through in your childhood in East Germany. And political reconditioning was really a thing back then. And violence was not frowned upon to achieve those goals, so it was somewhat a common means to raise a child. So it's no surprise that Theodor has a bruise on his cheek in that scene. Then, when they arrive at home, we get a better glimpse at the car. It's a Trabant, I think it's model 601, and that is the typical East German car. That's what I talked about in an earlier episode when I talked about the pressed cardboard. So this is the car that I was talking about.
I have a screenshot of one that's just next to our block house here where I live. Interesting enough, if it's in good condition, you can use it and drive on our Autobahn, on the highway in English. Compared to other cars, of course, way inferior. And I couldn't sit in in a trap. I'm 2 meters high and I don't know, whatever these crazy Americans use. I would have really trouble traveling with that because I don't think I would fit into it. So yes, the food we see is quite accurate. It's a simple food for most commoners. That's called Bockwurst and a potato salad. Well, the Bockwurst is a Bockwurst. Just to give you a glimpse, it's a tradition in our family to eat on the second day of Christmas. The dinner is Bockwurst and potato salad. So it's even a tradition nowadays. You can eat it any day you want, but and quite a lot of families it became like a tradition to eat it at a certain point. In ours, it's, as I said, the second day of Christmas and most of the time New Year's Eve. We see school uniforms. And this kind of school uniform was never a thing. It's common in England and in Japan, but here there were uniforms in the sense of everyone was wearing the same T-shirt with the thing they are part of, like the FDJ.
That was the youth organization of a state, just like the Hitler Youth, but in a socialist variant.
I even asked my mother about it, and she said no, absolutely. She never seen that before. Now, we can't say that there is no possibility that there was a school that used school uniforms. The possibility is always there because we can check thousands of schools and did they use school uniforms or did they not? But in common, neither in East or West as a whole were school uniforms a thing. Iristina and Gretel talk about the possibility of Lise being a spy, and that's just a natural thing. As we said in the first episode, everyone was suspicious of everyone. Not necessarily of close family members, but you have to know your neighbor well if you to think that he is not spying on you. Yes, and of course it's natural that the Stasi would use Fyodor's sister as bait to get information about traders or to help them in their plans to overthrow the government. Funnily enough, Gretel says it wants. This makes me wanna puke.
どうしたいの甘さにはヘドが出るわね。
That's quite a common phrase in Deutsch. Ich finde dich zum Kotzen. Sounds weird when translated to English, but yes, this kind of insult slash opinion is quite common in German. Actually, even today, people use that like there's no tomorrow. My mother, oder das finde ich zum Kotzen, that makes me wanna puke. It's really a common phrase my mother uses way too many times. But yes, that's a nice touch. And we see matryoshkas, the obvious goods from Russia, and more Eastern-looking figures and mostly products of craftsmanship. So that I think is accurate. Once again, I think, I know that East Germany was well known for its craftsmanship. Funnily enough, they built things cheap that were shipped to West Germany and sold more expensive. And similar how it's working with North Korea, a lot of animators go to North Korea, it's cheap, and animate their cartoons or TV shows. Quite ironic, yeah, but that's the world. Where's money to get, there will be money made.
So Theodor's adoptive father pulls out a newspaper labeled Glanz Deutschland. Of course, Deutschland is the German name for Germany. The Glanz, however, it is the noun for gloss, shine, radiance. It did not exist, to my knowledge, a newspaper of a title. But it sounds kind of weird for me, because the name itself, it is a possibility, but it doesn't sound to me like something a German newspaper would be named like in any time. But in another scene we catch a small glimpse at the headlines, Couldn't really read them. I think they were just in too bad a quality. But they seem to be in the Fraktur font. That is an old German font. There are many variants of those. But after 1945, they pretty much disappeared from common usage. And nowadays, a lot of people can't even read them anymore, which is quite sad. Yeah, but those really, they are used for some fancy titles. They are like Old English, basically. It's not the same font, but it's not really used that commonly when you want to write a huge text. You maybe use it for a headline or a company logo or stuff like that. So there is this porn mag that Theodor's sister pulled out from under his bed. It reads Blitz. Yeah, it sounds like a name that they would have used back then for magazines like that. And there was a Blitz Illu in the 90s that was some sort of an erotic magazine, but as I said, that was in the 90s, and after reunification, it could also be a Western product, because it has some heavy use of English on the cover. But overall, you must understand that East Germany was very lenient when it comes to pornography. Well, what's very lenient might be a little bit misleading here. I mean, European culture is not as conservative as the US are in that regard. But in East Germany, we also had this thing called Freie Körperkultur, and that is basically a nudist culture, and there were a lot of nudist beaches and stuff like that. It was seen as very normal, and that was mostly also a result of socialism that really just try to enforce this whole we are all equal blah 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 bullshit. Well, first off, I mentioned the Tornado. There's the Panavia 200 Tornado, and that is a multi-role aircraft that was jointly developed by Italy, the UK and West Germany, and is used in the German military to this day. And their squadron is called Huckebein. Now, in real life, there is the Lufttransportgeschwader 62, that is a German air transport wing, and that one features Hans Huckebein in its emblem. Hans Huckebein is a figure, it's an Unglücksrabe, that's an unlucky raven in a story by Wilhelm Busch. And yeah, that's the only real connection I could find there. Later on, there are the Tomcats, obvious reference to the Grumman F-14 Tomcat interceptors employed by the US. And they are in the 103rd Strike Fighter Squadron, Jolly Rogers. And those actually exist in real life and also had Tomcats. So yeah, very accurate depiction. And also the ships we see later on, those naval vessels. Of course, the US Navy does have the Montana and Iowa class battleships. And the Royal British Navy also has the Lion class battleships. And interesting fact here, the Lion class was also used as a hybrid aircraft carrier. So its conjunction in the use with TSF is maybe just coincidental, but it's a nice little touch. It's a nice little detail that they paid attention to, if they actually did, and this is not mere coincidence. First off, we have Peenemünde, and later on we also have two more. We have Fuhlendorf and Klausdorf. Now, I couldn't really find any ships by that name in the East German Navy, but the names themselves, they are probable. They're not really out of thin air. All of those places were East German Baltic seaports, and yes, quite known in the East German Navy, so it's reasonable to assume that they would name their ships like that.